They say success is the sweetest poison. It gives you everything, only to see who dares to take it away from you. My name is Rehan Ali. For 10 years, I was the face, the voice, and the driving engine behind Titan Global Enterprises, one of the largest business empires in the region. I started as a junior analyst, the kind of guy who stayed in the office when everyone else left. My dedication wasn't just about ambition, it was about gratitude. Titan had given me a chance when no one else believed in me. But gratitude, I learned, means nothing in a world run by greed. I climbed my way up, not through luck, but through relentless work. Every successful contract Titan ever boasted about had my fingerprints on it. I built relationships across continents, negotiated billion-dollar projects, and cleaned up messes caused by others. I was the man they called when the company's image was at stake. Then came the project that changed everything, a $4.2 billion negotiation involving 14 of the world's most powerful CEOs. It was more than just business, it was history in the making. If successful, Titan would become the global leader in its field. I spent 6 exhausting months preparing for that day, running on coffee, sleepless nights, and stubborn determination. Every MOU, every presentation, every clause was designed by me. The board trusted me completely, or at least that's what I thought. The morning of the negotiation, I arrived early. The boardroom was glowing, crystal glasses, imported flowers, and a long polished oak table stretching across the room. It wasn't just a business meeting, it looked like a coronation. I checked every document twice. My team was nervous, but I wasn't. For once, everything was perfect. The CEOs arrived one by one, handshakes, smiles, polite laughter. Cameras flashed, journalists murmured. The world was watching Titan, and I was the man leading the show. But as the meeting began, I noticed something strange. The chairman, Mr. Hassan, wasn't smiling the way he usually did. His eyes were cold, detached. This was the same man who once told me, "Rayhan, when I retire, this chair will be yours." As I began my presentation, he leaned toward the board members and whispered something. A few of them avoided eye contact with me. I brushed it off. Maybe it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was a storm waiting to hit. 2 hours into the meeting, we had reached the final stage, the signing of the MOUs. 14 CEOs were ready to sign. The cameras were ready, the press was ready, history was ready. And then the door opened. Mr. Hassan stood up, straightened his tie, and cleared his throat. The room fell silent. "Before we proceed," he said calmly, "I have an announcement to make." He turned to me, and in a voice so casual it almost sounded rehearsed, he said, "Effective immediately, Mr. Rayhan Ali is no longer a part of Titan Global Enterprises." For a second, I thought I had misheard him. I blinked, looking around the room. Everyone froze. 14 CEOs stared at each other in disbelief. My hands trembled slightly, the pen still in my grip. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked quietly. Hassan smiled faintly. "Your services are no longer required. We thank you for your contributions." And just like that, 10 years of loyalty were reduced to a sentence. The silence was suffocating. The cameras stopped clicking. I could feel the humiliation burning through my skin. The CEOs looked uncomfortable. One of them even whispered, "Is this a joke?" But it wasn't. My mentor, the man I once trusted, had just fired me in front of the most powerful people in the business world. I could feel every heartbeat echoing in my ears, every muscle in my body screaming to react. But I didn't, because even in that moment of betrayal, I remembered something he didn't. Every single document, every MOU, every legal draft on that table had my name embedded in the architecture. He might have fired me publicly, but he had no idea what kind of chaos he'd just unleashed privately. I looked at him, calm, steady, unbroken, and said, "If this is your move, sir, then the game just changed." He smirked, dismissing me with a wave as if I was already forgotten. I walked out of that room silently. No drama, no shouting, no tears, just a quiet storm brewing behind my calm face. Because in that moment, one thing became crystal clear. They didn't just fire an employee, they fired the architect of their empire. And soon they would realize what happens when you destroy the man who built your foundation. When I walked out of that boardroom, they thought they had humiliated me. What they didn't realize was they had just pulled the pin on their own grenade. By that evening, news of my termination was everywhere. Titan fires top executive during $4.2 billion deal. Social media lit up with speculation. Journalists smelled blood. The company called it a strategic restructuring, but the truth was simpler. It was corporate betrayal, wrapped in arrogance. What Mr. Hassan and his board didn't know was this: every single MOU, every contract draft, every deal structure was built under my personal consultancy license. I had designed the entire legal architecture so that no agreement could proceed without my signature. It was my safety net, my invisible shield. So when they fired me without cause, those 14 MOUs instantly became legally void. By the next morning, the dominoes began to fall. One CEO pulled out, then another, then three more. By noon, all 14 CEOs had officially withdrawn their participation. 14 global partnerships, gone. $14 billion dreams, erased. Titan's stock plummeted within hours. The media called it the biggest corporate disaster of the decade. And Mr. Hassan? He hid behind press statements and board meetings, pretending to be in control while his empire turned into dust. Behind the scenes, I was quiet, invisible. No public statements, no interviews, no drama, just watching. Because silence is the loudest form of revenge. A week later, Titan tried to relaunch the project under a new name, Project Revival. But every company they approached refused to work with them. Word had spread. Titan had betrayed the man who built them. And in the corporate world, trust once broken never returns. That's when I made my move. I contacted 3 of those CEOs, the same ones who had watched me get humiliated, not for sympathy, but for strategy. I offered them something better, a new firm built on transparency, innovation, and integrity, a place where loyalty wasn't a weakness, it was power. They didn't even hesitate. Within 2 months, I had 7 of the 14 CEOs on board. Their companies signed directly with me under my new venture, RA Dynamics. Titan's offices were drowning in lawsuits. Their stock hit record lows. Employees started resigning, investors pulled funding, and rumors spread that the company was facing insolvency. I didn't have to destroy them. I just let them taste the consequences of their own betrayal. And as I sat in my new office, looking out at the skyline once dominated by Titan's tower, I smiled and whispered to myself, "You fired me to protect your throne, Hassan, but all you did was hand me the crown." 6 months. That's all it took for Titan Global Enterprises to fall from the top of the corporate world to the edge of bankruptcy. Their fall wasn't loud. It was slow, painful, and humiliating. One by one, their projects froze. Their partners backed out. Their name, once a symbol of power, had become a warning label. And I watched it all unfold from the corner office of my own empire, RA Dynamics. It wasn't just a company. It was everything Titan claimed to be, but never was: honest, disciplined, and loyal to its people. We started small, but within months, our growth shocked the industry. We became the face of innovation, the partner everyone wanted to work with. And now, exactly 1 year after that day of betrayal, I received an invitation that almost made me laugh. Global Business Forum 2025, hosted by Titan Global Enterprises. The irony, they invited me as a keynote speaker. For a moment, I thought it was a joke. But no, it was real. Mr. Hassan, the man who had once fired me in front of 14 CEOs, was now desperate for credibility. His company's image was shattered. The board was divided. Investors were leaving. Inviting me was their last attempt to show the world that Titan still had influence. And that's when I decided I would go. The day of the forum arrived. Same city, same hotel, different Rayhan. As I stepped out of the car, cameras flashed, journalists shouted my name, and the sound of my arrival echoed through the grand hall. Titan's banner still hung proudly, but it looked faded, tired, like an empire pretending it still ruled. I walked into the hall, calm and collected. The CEOs, investors, and guests all turned toward me. Whispers filled the air. That's him, the man Titan betrayed. Mr. Hassan approached with his forced smile. Rayhan, he said, pretending to be warm, it's good to see you. I looked him straight in the eyes, those same eyes that once looked down on me. Is it? I replied. He forced a laugh, gesturing toward the stage. Let's show them that business is about forgiveness, not rivalry. Forgiveness? That word almost made me smile. When my name was announced, the crowd erupted. I stood before them, confident, calm, every inch the man they once underestimated. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, I began. Exactly 1 year ago, I was standing in a similar room, about to sign one of the largest deals in our industry's history. A hush fell across the audience. Back then, I was loyal to an empire that didn't value loyalty. They believed replacing one man could save their pride. But what they didn't realize was when you build your success on betrayal, your foundation never survives the storm. Cameras flashed. Mr. Hassan's smile had vanished. I continued, Today I stand not as an ex-employee, not as a victim, but as the CEO of a company that rose from the ruins they created. And while they were busy breaking trust, we were busy building it. Applause thundered across the hall. I saw board members of Titan whispering among themselves, some even nodding in agreement. Mr. Hassan looked like a man watching his own empire crumble for the second time, only this time in public. Then came the twist. As I ended my speech, I announced a new global partnership between RA Dynamics and 6 international corporations, the same companies that once walked away from Titan. The total value, $6.3 billion. The audience stood up in applause. The cameras focused on my face, and I said the final line slowly, every word cutting through the air like glass. A year ago, I was fired at a table full of power. Today, I sit at the head of one, built by integrity, not betrayal. After the ceremony, Mr. Hassan approached me again, his voice shaking slightly. You planned all this, didn't you? I smiled faintly. No, Hassan, you did. You fired me. You created this version of me. He sighed, defeated. You won. I stepped closer and whispered, No, I just finished what you started. Then I turned and walked away, leaving him standing in the ruins of his own arrogance. Outside, flashes burst as reporters surrounded me, asking how it felt to defeat my former company. I simply said, It was never about revenge. It was about respect. And sometimes respect must be earned through fire. As I got into my car, I glanced at the Titan building one last time. The lights were dim, the logo cracked, a ghost of what once was. And for the first time, I smiled not out of pride, but peace. Because true revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's watching them realize you became everything they tried to stop you from becoming.